Welcome to the tutorial for stop motion file management. The very first thing that we're going to want to do is make sure we have a folder set up on the Lacie drive of the system. So we can get to there by clicking on the Finder, finding the Lacie drive in your Devices pane, and then in the main directory of the Lacie drive we'll be making a new folder with the date, something descriptive, and our last name. So here's my folder. I can double click in there, and this is where I will have all the files for this project. The project differs from most of our other projects because we're not capturing video. We are transferring the pictures that we've shot, and then we're going to import those pictures. The pictures must reside on the Lacie drive. We have a lot of students who will try to import directly from their card, and once the card is disconnected, the media will go offline. So what I'm going to do first is connect a card, and you'll see it pop up on the desktop over here. And here's the card from a Nikon camera. If I double click on it, you'll see on most cameras there'll be a DCIM folder. Within that folder will be a subfolder that'll hold all of your pictures. So I'm just going to find the pictures that I need that I took today, and I will select all of the ones by clicking the first one, holding shift and clicking the last one. That'll select a consecutive range, and I can copy Command C and go to my other window and paste Command V all of those files, and you'll see that the items will be copied in. So now they're on the Lacie drive, able to be imported, and that way if you disconnect this card like so, the files will remain on the system and they won't become offline when you bring up Final Cut Pro. So now that they're on the system, I'm going to run into Final Cut Pro, and I'm going to import the files. First, prior to doing that, I'll do my finishing steps for file management. The 3 steps for file management are to make a folder. We already did that earlier. The second step is to save the project file, and then the third step will be setting the scratch disk. Okay, so Final Cut is opening. I'm going to arrange this window. Arrange standard, and Final Cut opens with whatever project work I was working on last. So I'm actually going to close this project. File, close project. No, I don't need to save it. It was already saved. And now I have a blank window. So I'm going to start a new project. File, new project. And note that my window is untitled. I'm going to File, save project as. And I want to go into my Lacie drive, the folder I made in step 1, and again, name with the date, and I even call it the project. So it's very clear in my file management. So now I have a bunch of pictures and a project file in one folder. The last step, we're going to set our scratch disk. Now the scratch disk is important for when you are logging and transferring or logging and capturing, but it's also important because anytime you render video or audio, temporary files are put into that folder. So we want to make sure that they're also in the same spot. So set the C drive, the folder I created earlier, choose it, say OK. Now my file management is complete. The last step is to import, and we're going to bring it to the timeline and change the duration of the clips, because by default clips are set to, in your user preferences, come in at still freeze duration of, well, most times it's 10 seconds. Mine is set to 5, and you can change that in your preferences. This must be changed prior to importing for it to take effect on the clips that you import. But I'll change it back just so that it's set to everyone else. 10 seconds, so it goes hours, minutes, seconds, frames. And we're going to say OK. Now that I have that set up, when I import the files, they'll come in at a duration of 10 seconds. So to import, it's File, Import, Files, or Command I. So Command I will bring up a new dialog box. And I'm going to go into the folder and find all the JPEG images that I copied from my SD card to the Lacie drive. shift clicking to the bottom and choosing. So now here are all my JPEGs. Now some students are having issues with multiple shoot dates. What I would recommend is making bins and importing to bins. So I'm actually going to undo that, and you can make a bin by hitting Command B. So Command B will give us a bunch of bins, and let's say this is shoot day 1, and I'll date it for today. So it's going to say, oh, I have to pay Verizon. It's going to say 1-10 -12, and that's today's date. And then if I had other shoot dates, I would be able to import files directly to those bins. But if I double click on the bin, it opens up in a new pane, and now if I was to import files, or Command I, it'll import directly just to that bin. So I'm going to go there, down to the bottom here, and I also want those 2 files at the top. Good, choose it. And now I have all my files, and note that the duration is at 10 seconds. So if I look, here they are in my bin, and then you can do that for each bin so that you know that you have multiple shoot dates. Also, we're going to take these to the timeline, shift click all of them, drag them down. Note that they're all 10 seconds long, and it's going to be way too slow. So once our video display prepares, I'm going to click in here, Shift Z will bring us a global view, and here's our last frame. Our time bar is way over, so I'm going to jump that to the top, and now you see we're starting in kind of a dark frame here. And then what I would like to do is just change all of these. So to do that, I can select all the files by clicking and dragging. I can Command A because they're all in the timeline. I'm selecting all. I could use T for track forward and click from where I'm clicking all the way to the right will be highlighted. So there's multiple ways to select files in the timeline. And then to do the duration command, it's control clicking to bring up the subcontext menu. And then we have this little sub menu here, and down at the bottom, actually right here, duration, they're all set to 10 seconds. We can set them, instead of 10 seconds, I'm going to make them, we'll go with 5 frames each and see what that looks like. And I'm going to say OK. And then our timeline has shrunk to these little 5 frames. So if I was to play that back, it looks something like this. Okay, so it's jumping into focus after ramping up with changing the shutter speed. So at the top of the timeline, we have it at a darker exposure, and then if you hit space, you can see that the exposure changes and it ramps right into focus on the back. So that's the basics of getting your files to the timeline and set to the duration. The next step would be sound design, and we'll also be doing a motion text, some sort of text overlay either at the front or somewhere along the duration of your clip.